So you actually want it for a detox reason, because you want the blood to go through the organs. You basically catch it by sending all the blood into your extremities.
Yeah.
It catches all the toxins that are available at that very moment. Then you go into the cold, which means it's all called home to the organs, and it goes through the organs more
That's it.
efficiently.
So you're pumping blood to the outside,
Yes.
then to the inside. To the outside to pick up the waste, to the inside to clear out the waste. And then you're drinking lots to sort of flush it out.
You know, that makes much more sense when I hear it that way. I've been exposed to this, thinking for a long, long time on a really shallow level. So people will say, it's good to have cold because, like it hardens the body, or, whatever is said. But when you actually talk about at a more detailed level, to me, that makes way more sense. Like I'm more inclined to do it now more regularly, because I actually understand and can really see like that's definitely makes so much more sense. Hi everyone, we have Dr. Marc with us again. I'm so glad that he reached out while he was in this area so we can have another recording of all the wisdom that you bring us. Thank you so much, Marc, for being here.
It's such a pleasure. Yeah, thanks for inviting me back.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Hey, I would like to pick up on where we stopped last year when we had a recording, and we talked a lot about sort of protocols of sauna or heat protocols, but not to the degree that I know you have knowledge of. So it would be great if you could take us a little bit through what you find are the building blocks of a good heat treatment or cold treatment, or however you would like that to call that, milestones or markers of what you would put into it.
And I mean, I've done a lot of research in this, because I often get asked, what temperature and how long, and for this and that, what do I do? And really, what you've got to go on is an incredibly rich history of people doing saunaing and hot and cold bathing for literally hundreds, if not thousands, of years.
Yeah.
And when you go into that, there's a general protocol that has been used over the ages that seems to work really well, and we can unpack that. But that protocol is to rinse, do hot, cold, rest, repeat. So that's a very simple protocol. Rinse, hot, cold, rest, repeat. And that's traditionally. So you rinse, so you're going in clean. So you're not, you're actually preparing yourself for the process. So this is not about going to get clean in the sauna and using the sauna as a form of hygiene. It's actually a practice that you're preparing yourself for, and you're getting rid of the dust of the day. And also, by wetting your skin, you get more heat transfer. Because water transfers heat 25 times more than air.
Jeepers.
So it's good to rinse off first, and then you do heat. And the heat can be a sauna, infrared sauna, dry sauna, could be a steam room, could be a hot tub that's 40, 42, 43. In Japan they go crazy hot.
Yeah.
Up to 47, which I don't recommend. But you want to go into an environment where you're really stressing your body. And in terms of the length of time, it's not prescriptive. So it depends on your body in that moment. And the objective is to go to a place where you're comfortably uncomfortable. I think we talked about that.
Yes.
So that place of forced mindfulness.
You're meeting your boundaries.
That's it.
And you stay there.
And you're just visiting the edge of your comfort
That's
zone.
what you say. That, like it.
So it's just having a little visit and saying hello to your comfort zone. And your comfort zone will change depending on your mood. Like if you're anxious and you've got things going in your head, your comfort zone will be contracted. If you're feeling really good and relaxed, maybe you can tolerate more. So it's not about the time and the heat, it's about what's happening with you in that moment. And I often liken it to like a yoga stretch. If you're stretching in yoga and you get to the limit of your stretch, there's a point where it's sort of uncomfortable, but if you just breathe and focus, you can be there. But if you try and push further, you're going to hurt yourself. So you don't want to push through that comfort zone, you just want to respect it. And there's that point where it just makes you focus on that area of your body, or if it's heat, if you just focus on your body, and you can just breathe and tolerate that. And you may only have to do 2 or 3 breaths at that point, maybe a little bit longer. But how long can you be in that extreme heat and just breathe and be comfortable with it? And then at that point, you change. So, and that point is different for everybody, but it's noticeable. You might go into the sauna and you'll be reading a book or chatting, but then when it gets really hot, your body starts talking to you, hey, maybe we have to get out of here. And this is the point where I call when your mitochondria talk to your mind. So your mitochondria and your mind are on the same page. And the reason why they do that is because you're in a life-threatening situation. All life on Earth lives within a very narrow temperature window. So all life has to deal with thermoregulation. If you get too hot for too long, you die. If you get too cold for too long, you die. So you can put yourself in a life-threatening situation, and the idea with a sauna is you're doing it in comfort and full control. So, yeah.
What would be the downside? Because I hear some athletes asking us, look, really want even hotter saunas, we want a really, really high temperature, and there's a lot of benefit in there for us. My gut feeling tells me, like, if you push that too often, too much, it's probably not so good, but I wouldn't actually know exactly what would be the downside of it or the danger.
Well, it's not so much the temperature, because I've been in saunas 110 degrees centigrade in Germany, but it's very dry. So you can tolerate that. It's still really hot and you have to breathe slowly, or your nose sort of burns, and I find the tops of my ears sort of they're going to burn.
I remember that.
So they have the sauna hats, So it depends on the humidity, because if that was humid, you wouldn't be able to, a steam room at 48 degrees can be really, really hot because of that water transferring. And then also movement is a big thing in those situations. So if you're just sitting still, you get the heat through conduction. This radiant heat, and then it conducts into your body. If the air is moving, then you get conduction and convection. And that's why, in Germany they do the Aufgas. They get the towels out and they swing that around. When you have the air with the steam going over your body, you get this really intense heat because you get both conduction and convection. So the temperature is not as important as how humid it is and whether the air is moving. And it's really about your response to it. So how long does it take you to start sweating? And that's also different from everybody. If you're a regular sauna bather, sometimes you'll crack. You'll start to sweat much sooner. If you're doing 3 rounds, I suggest it's rinse, hot, cold, rest, repeat. And it's good to do 3 rounds. And by the second and third round, you'll start to sweat much quicker than the first round. And there's things you can do before you have the sauna and afterwards that can also enhance that. So the temperature, people want it hotter. That's fine, but it's really more to do with how they respond and how long it takes them to sweat, how comfortable you feel. And often people feel more comfortable in an infrared sauna because they can sweat at a lower temperature, so they can tolerate that better.
Yeah.
And that's a personal preference, I think, as well.
Yeah. But is there a real... Can you, I guess, impact the body negatively if you would way overstep sort of your edges?
Well, absolutely, and there's another safety protocol that I really recommend, and that is you need to stay hydrated. So and with the best quality water you can have. So hydration is super important, and we can talk forever about water. That's another topic. So so if you're dehydrated, that's an issue, and if you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol, that's an issue because you don't realise you're dehydrated.
Okay.
So you want to be, you don't want to be doing this drunk. And there have been deaths in saunas, and most of them are associated with being drunk and alcohol. Because you go into the sauna, you're drunk, and you sort of fall asleep in the sauna, and your body dehydrates, and your kidneys pack up. Or staying hydrated, being aware, knowing your limits. So having a rough idea, roughly after 10 or 15 minutes, I know that that's about my limit. So, I'm not going to go for 45 minutes. So roughly having an idea of what your own limits are is good. I mean, obviously taking care with hot surfaces, and also taking care with posture change. So if you're lying down in a sauna, when you stand up, all your blood vessels are dilated. Your gravity is going to pull it down into your legs, and you're going to get dizzy, and there's a chance of fainting.
Right.
And if you're in a finished sauna, you don't want to, you'll faint and hit the rocks and burn yourself on the rocks. So taking care with hot surfaces and taking care with just changing in your posture. So getting up slowly, maybe having a rail that you when you get up, you can just hold on and stand up before before you start walking out, because you don't want to faint. And then having fun, I think, is really important with it. Like enjoying it. This is not a torture chamber. This is not something, no pain, no gain, and have to push through the pain barrier. No, you want to enjoy it. And I think that's really important. And there's so many things you can do to enhance the fun. Sharing with people, bringing in other tools and tricks and stuff which we can talk about. And then the last thing is really resting. And I feel that's not often talked enough about. And that's you're exploring the edges of your physiology here. You do hot and then you do cold. Then you want to practice finding that balance point in the middle. That's the point of bliss. And it's also the point of homeostasis that gives you the greatest resilience. Because if you find that still point, it gives you the greatest movement in either direction. They say in martial arts and in Eastern wisdom, they say that the greatest movement comes from the stillest point. So if you can find that still point in your own physiology, then all your hormones and all your brain waves and all your whole body can come into a balance. And that aligning that and finding that still point, so you're actively doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it's a great time after a sauna. And you've done the hot. The cold, it doesn't have to be that long. You're just sort of snapping cold and bringing the blood vessels from open to closed. But then the relaxation, I suggest, you want to spend at least as much time relaxing as you have been in the sauna.
So you relax outside of the sauna.
And letting your body come into balance, and to have a area prepared for relaxing.
Yeah.
So whether that's a lounge chair, a hammock, or somewhere where you're comfortable and you can really say, this is my time out. I'm actively going to do nothing.
Yeah.
And you're just letting your body come back and find its balance. And that's a really valuable time. It's a great time to meditate. It's a great time to get in touch with your body and just seeing what's going on, and try and find that still point, that point of homeostasis. And that gives you the greatest resilience for coping with life and coping with anything else that happens. And then once you've found that still point, then you can repeat the process.
Yeah. Speaking from my own experience, I would hear your advice, and then, I might have a session, and then there might be something on, so I just get up and and quit it there, and that might be okay, and I might not get the greatest benefit from it, but it only becomes obvious when I have a really, let's say I'm below par with my energy and so on. If you then push through, I certainly get the sense of this is actually unhealthy to do. Like, I have to give my body the recovery time there. Yeah.
Because if you're going to the gym, you're doing a workout, then you have a sauna, then you get out of the sauna, have a shower, and just keep going in the car. Your body hasn't had a chance to really find its balance. So it's trying to do that while you're doing all these, dealing with traffic, or you're doing all these other things you have to do, and you're not giving your body a chance to really find that still point, find that point of homeostasis, of balance. And having that point of balance means your whole life can then work better. So really respecting that, and where is my point of balance today? And it'll be different each day, and maybe it takes longer or shorter to find that. But I find a lot of places around the world, spas and resorts, they really don't spend enough time or enough attention to the cold plunge, to the cold experience. So they'll have a hammam or a sauna or a hot tub, but then the cold might just be a cold shower, and often it's not chilled. So it might be ambient, 18, 20 degrees, which is not really chilled. And the ones that do, then you also need a space that's dedicated. I think the ancient Romans, they did this really well. They had the tepidarium. So the cold area was the cold, and they had the sauna, but then they had the tepidarium, which is just a comfortable temperature where you'd go, often in dim lighting, maybe some nice music, but then that's where you just go and relax and find your balance. So you want a space that's dedicated to being really comfortable. So you've been uncomfortable in the sauna, so how comfortable can you experience? And exploring the extent of how comfortable you can be, this is the time to do it. You've gone to hot, you've gone to cold. Now I'm going to. How comfortable can I possibly be? And it's a bit of an exploration. So you experiment with yourself, and maybe you fall asleep, but that's okay. Then you needed it. How comfortable can I be that I'm not thinking and worrying about things? So I'm comfortable not just with my body, but with my thoughts. So this is a practice that you need to put attention to. So you're actively doing nothing, not just, I'm going to do nothing and watch TV.
Right.
It's, I'm actively going to do nothing, and I'm going to experiment how comfortable can I feel in my body and my mind.
Right.
And the sauna is actually like the preparation. Just like yoga, originally yoga, the asana practice, was a preparation for meditation. So you get your body in a state where it's flexible and you've got a comfortable seat, and then you're in a comfortable position for the meditation. The sauna and the hot and cold, this is the workout for your body, so then you can be really comfortable and find that point of balance at a physiological level, down to the mitochondria.
Yeah. That's amazing, and that's great to point that out, because I think it's something that many people overlook.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a mat on the ground with a pillow
Yeah.
and some nice lighting. Or it doesn't have to be complicated, but putting attention to that, I think it's really, really valuable.
All right, so going from the hot experience, you would go first the cold, afterwards before rest, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason you do that is when you're in the heat, you're very vasodilated. So all your blood vessels are open. You're picking up a lot of metabolic waste products that are in your muscles and your skin, but you're not making new metabolic waste products, you're not actively using your muscles. But then what you want to do is push that blood from the periphery into your core. And to do that, the cold, what that does, it actually takes a while for your body temperature to cool down. Your periphery cools down much quicker than your core. So you go into the cold, your arms and legs will contract the most, and all that blood will go into your core, which is your internal organs. So it goes through your liver and your kidneys, which are the filters. So they're taking up all those waste products and filtering them out, provided you're hydrated enough. And that's a really great process to clean. It's like a house cleaning for your body. And so that whole, you open your blood vessels, close your blood vessels, and then it almost stops the heat coming out, because if your blood vessels are closed on the surface, your core is still warm, then that heat is sort of trapped in your body. So you haven't cooled your body significantly. Unless you spend 10 minutes or something until your body really cools down. So it's like a snap cold. So you're just forcing the blood back into your core, and then when you're resting, that core temperature can merge with the periphery, and your blood vessels can find the sweet spot. So it's like if you had a hot shower and a cold shower, instead of being hot, and let's say the room is cold, you come out, you're vasodilated, you feel the room is cold. If you have a cold shower just after your hot shower, you come out into a cold room, but you're actually feeling the heat from inside your body. So that's what you're doing, you're sort of trapping the heat inside your body and then letting it all come into balance. So the cold doesn't have to be a long cold experience, it could just be cool air. I mean, if you've got, doesn't have to be an ice plunge or a cold shower. Can just be walking around in the cold air if it's winter time, or can be a cold shower. I think if it's cold water, I like it below 12 degrees, and there's evidence for in your body that once it's below 12 degrees, you get this strong muscular vasoconstriction. The smooth muscle contracts really strongly. If it's 18, 20 degrees, like ambient, and up in Byron Bay, the water doesn't get that cold. Like I'm, down in Melbourne, in winter time now, the tap water might be 8, 10 degrees. So that really gives you that response. So it's really nice to get like a cold experience. Depends on how long. If it's in the air, it might take longer to cool down, and then you relax.
That makes sense. Oh, that's great. And so how long would you say is a good amount of time? Surely it depends on the person and the situation and their health at that moment. But overall, is it just a couple of minutes, or are you talking 10 minutes or 20?
In the cool, often I'll do 2 to 3 minutes.
That's all it takes to lock.
And I do that in a cold shower.
Like
in winter time, in a cold shower or in a cold plunge, a couple of minutes is plenty.
All you need.
And often you want to get to the point where you're in the cold and you're breathing comfortably. So again, it's finding comfort. Cold water is uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable situation, but you want to be able to feel comfortable in that uncomfortable situation. So yeah, go into the cold, but you can still breathe. So you're not,
Yes.
and then you're coming out, oh my God, it was so cold. You want to, it's cold, and then, okay, I can tolerate that. And once you're comfortable there, then you can move on.
Right, because what would be, thinking about, the customers that we have that are more on the extreme side, what is the downside of having an ice bath for too long, too early, that type of thing?
Well, if you have an ice bath for a long time, you'll start to drop your core body temperature. Like a short ice bath, even one or a minute or so, you'll vasoconstrict your periphery. So you might even feel your hands and feet, and that's what feels painful in an ice bath. And that's if you're in severe cold, they're the parts that get frostbite because the blood vessels are closed down so much. Because normally you radiate a lot of heat from there that you can't nourish the tissue and the tissue dies. So it's the hands and feet will feel really cold. But in terms of if you're going to spend a long time in the cold, maybe 10 minutes or 5-10 minutes, you start to drop your core body temperature. Now there's positives for that as well, because there's a training in that. You're stimulating your own metabolism to then generate heat. It's a different effect than just a short-term cold of snapping your blood vessels closed. So that's the immediate effect. Your blood vessels snap shut. You have the psychological effect of I've gone into the cold, and you have to overcome that initial that hyperventilation that the cold causes. And controlling your breath is actually a really valuable thing a gift that the cold can give you, because you're overcoming anxiety and the body chemistry of trauma, and if you've had trauma in the past, you can relive that in a very controlled situation.
Right.
So that's great. But if you're going to go a long time in the cold, it's a different sort of training, and you'll find that after 10 minutes you won't think as straight. Your brain takes about 25% of your oxygen, just to have your monkey mind working.
Right.
When your body's temperature starts to drop, okay, your body, to save its core temperature, will first shut down your periphery, so your hands and your feet, and then your limbs will go quite cold. And then your brain will turn itself off because it wants to keep that energy for your heart and your, and your vital organs. So it's actually a forced meditation. So when you go into the cold and you're actually getting quite cold, you'll find that your brain can be quite still. You can be in a nice, quiet space. And we did some research. One of my Ph.D. students is Lauren Burns, who won the gold medal for Taekwondo at the Sydney Olympics, and she's also a naturopath nutritionist. And we were she spent 5 years doing research on world champion athletes. So she interviewed a whole range of athletes, and to be on her interview list, you had to be a world champion for multiple years.
Wow.
And the question was, how do you stay at the top of your game in a world champion? What do you eat? What do you think? What do you do? So all these aspects of lifestyle. And the psychological aspect was really important, and that's been quite known. But the things that came out in her research that wasn't that well discussed or known, one was they had a really strong friendship group. So they had a social connection, and friendships were really important, to be able to let your hair down and not feel full of yourself, and just to be yourself.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're this world champion, and the pressures of competing and making the team or not making the team, and all these other things can happen, but just you can be a human being, be yourself. So that was really important. But the other thing was that they all did ice bathing.
Wow.
And we didn't expect that. And when we asked them about it, they said they were introduced to ice bathing for recovery, because after training they were told it was good for recovery. But that they felt the benefit they got from it, and the reason why they kept on doing it was for the mindfulness it gave them.
Wow.
Because when they're in the ice bath, you're just in the ice bath. They're not worrying about the competition or what's happening tomorrow. It's a forced meditation. And they felt the mental health benefits were superior than just the recovery benefits or the physical benefits.
Amazing.
So yeah, when you're in an ice bath and really cold, you get this forced mindfulness. Your brain sort of shuts down, and you're forced to just be in the moment. So that's a benefit of that. So the timing of the cold, if you're doing hot, cold, rinse, hot, cold, rest, repeat, a minute or two is fine. If you want to really push the cold, again, know your limits. So, and cold is a life-threatening situation. However, you can have a hot tub or a sauna there, so you're in control of it. So you can practice going to the edge of your physiology, to the extremes of your body's ability to cope, and literally put yourself in a life-threatening situation, and then be in control of it. And that's real mastery over your body. And people like Wim Hof, able to really master their physiology in that way. So yeah, but in the protocol, a couple of minutes, and you've achieved it. You've got the vasoconstriction, you've flushed your organs, and then you're ready to rest. And when you're resting, then that core heat that you've generated can then start to go back through your body, and that's when you find that balance. When your blood vessels are, it's like the yoga. You've done, yoga stretching, and then the shavasana, the relaxation at the end of the yoga class, you feel much more relaxed than if you just went into relaxation at the start.
Yes.
Well, it's the same with your body. You open your blood vessels as open as they can, you shut them down and they go down tightly, and then you find that balance point in between. And that balance point will be more profound having done that exercise.
Gotcha. Amazing. Oh, that doesn't sound too hard.
It's actually really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, you would potentially repeat the cycle?
And then it's good to repeat it. And I like to do, if I can, 3 rounds. And you'll find the second round goes quicker because your body's already primed, and you will start to sweat. Usually I'll start to sweat quicker if you do on the second round. And it when you do 1 round, I mean, it's really nice, and you get that relaxation. And it's almost you're practicing going from being relaxed to stressed and then relaxed. So you're training your body to find balance. You're training your body to, and your mind, because and it actually takes a mental effort to do it. Because when you're in that relaxation, do I really want to do it again? Or you're in the hot, do I really want to go into the cold? So there's a mental hurdle at each time that you have to overcome. So this is great practice for life, because life will always throw uncomfortable situations at you. And it's how do we navigate that? How prepared are we to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation? And this is just a practice that you can do that's really relaxing, enjoyable, it's fun, it's healthy on so many levels, and it's just amazing life training. And it's while there's always research to say if you have regular sauna bathing, you'll have less heart attack, less stroke, less Alzheimer's disease, less respiratory infections, less pneumonia, on and on, less death from all causes.
Wow.
So this is a really powerful practice. It stops you dying.
Yes.
I mean, wow, that's great, huh? But the thing is, okay, to stop you dying, you want to enjoy living.
Yeah.
So this is a way you can actually enjoy your living and also prolong your life. So this is not a painful practice that, okay, I have to do this and I just survive through it because I'm going to live, so I'll live longer. No, this is something I really enjoy to do. I take time for myself. I do it with friends.
Yeah.
I have at home extreme wellness parties. We come over, we do hot and we do cold, and we make tonics and and it's an enjoyable thing.
Yeah. It's so much easier to comply with your practice or whatever it is, than trying to push yourself all the time in such a situation.
Yeah. So I think fun is really important. That you want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And mind you, it takes time. You need to make time for it as well.
Yeah. I think that's important to hear. I found because, I guess the time that we live in, people try to cramp in, or there is the tendency to put a lot of different things into your day and try to get more done. But I think we sometimes forget to get the quality out of a practice. Maybe it's better to do 2 things well than 5 things and push through it.
Absolutely, and I think just actively doing nothing is not respected. So often people will be in their relaxation room, but they'll be on their phones, and they're not doing nothing. They're actively, their mind is active.
Right.
So I would suggest if you're going to do in the rest period when you're actively doing nothing, you're not on your phone. You're just having a break. But what will happen is if you do that for 15 minutes and have that relaxation, when you're on your phone and doing something, you'll be much more productive. You're much more productive in your life when you can go from that stillest point. You find the still point with your body and your mind, and then when you're active, you've got your whole body and your whole mind to direct to whatever you need to do. So I suggest don't go on your phone in that relaxation. Treat that as a sacred time of how comfortable can I be without going on my phone and checking my profile or whatever people do.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that certainly sounds like you give permission to that, and I love that. Putting really a focus on that and just being. Can I just check with you? Pick up on a couple of things. Heat shock proteins is something that's talked about a lot, and I think it goes either way. Like extreme cold or cold, whatever extreme means, and hot. Would you mind talking a little bit about it? Because I think it comes more and more into the mainstream, but when you talk about these athletes, the recovery partly is certainly due to the creation of these proteins while you're in extreme.
There's lots of things with the recovery. The heat shock proteins are, they call them chaperone proteins. And they're basically your biochemical thermoregulation. So I was saying how all life has to live within a narrow temperature window. And as mammals and as humans, we have the most sophisticated thermoregulation than any other organism. Because not only do we have all the basic mechanisms of directing blood flow and controlling metabolic heat, because we're mammals and we can generate heat, but we can also put on an air conditioner, put on clothes, anticipate, read the weather pattern, so we have very sophisticated thermoregulation. But at the physiological level, down into the biochemical level, your proteins get stressed by hot and cold, and they can misform and go out of shape. And these heat shock proteins are there to protect your other enzymes and other proteins from the effects of extremes of temperature. That's the best way to think about them. So they're a biochemical thermoregulatory role to protect your sensitive protein and proteins that make up most of your body, but the enzymes that are the functioning part of your body require a very special folding and configuration to be active. And the heat can disturb that, because when everything heats up, it moves more. And cold can also disturb that, because it forms, it reduces that movement. So the chaperone proteins, the heat shock proteins, this is at least my understanding, is they protect your other sort of functional enzymes and proteins from the extremes of temperature. And again, it's building up that practice. So if you don't go to the extremes of temperature, you down-regulate those proteins. So they're not as available. Just like if you don't practice going hot and cold, and your blood vessels don't practice going open and closed, then they're not that able to do it when you need to. So by practicing that, you're upregulating these proteins, and you're protecting the other proteins. And also there's a process of apoptosis and autophagy. So this is a process of autophagy is recycling cellular material. So if you have a protein that is misfolded, it's like past its use-by date, then these other proteins come in and say, okay, maybe we can repair you, but maybe we can't. Maybe we just have to break you down and rebuild you. And that's autophagy. So you're taking the proteins that are past their use-by date, rebuilding them, and then making new ones. And apoptosis is doing that with cells. So cells that are old and past their use-by date, and maybe they're not as functioning as well, well, your body makes an assessment. Can we sort of repair that cell? No, it's dysfunctional. That cell's going to die, programmed cell death, and we're going to have a new cell to replace it.
So, is it the heat shock proteins that are more around because of the heat and cold that is the benefit over just doing nothing like heat treatments, or is it the additional stress on all the other enzymes and proteins, and there's more damage, therefore more of the heat shocks are created, and therefore maybe it's a chicken and egg. Oh, okay.
I'm not sure the answer to that, but what I would suggest is that the more you're exposing yourself to those extremes, they're going to upregulate those proteins. Because they're still a protein, and the more you use proteins, they get upregulated, so you get more messenger RNA, and the DNA gets transcribed. So you can upregulate that, and if you've got more of those proteins available, then you're protected. You've got more protection. Whereas if you're living your whole life in the comfort zone, you're not, you're always comfortable. Then you're not going to have that same degree of protection.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think that let's say we live a really cushioned life in terms of temperature, in terms of what our day-to-day looks like. But every now and then there's a cold snap, I forgot my t-shirt, another layer, and therefore I'm really cold. If my body is not used to also deal with more extremes, that has quite a quick negative impact on me, I suppose. Whereas if my body is actually used to that type of extremes, when it then happens, because of things that happen, in my day-to-day life, then it's prepped for that, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a translation that happens from your biochemistry to your physiology to your psychology. So it comes from the cells all the way up. So just when you're exercising your biochemistry, that makes your physiology work better, your blood and your organs, and that makes your psychology work better. So even when you have psychological stress, you're better able to cope with it.
Amazing.
Because you've got this depth of balance and depth of homeostasis you can draw from. So it actually gives you, mental health benefits as well as the physical and biochemical benefits.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thanks for that. Look, I have another thing that you mentioned a couple of times, vessel dilation, and we talk sometimes on this podcast about it, but there's so many different angles to it. Can you explain a little bit what that is, how infrared saunas or normal saunas, how that might differ, how it happens or not, and how cold then comes into place to actually clamp it down again and reduce the dilation?
Well, I said that water conducts heat 25 times more than air, and the way your body controls its temperature is moving water around, which is mostly in your blood. So the blood flow is one of the ways you thermoregulate. And where the blood is close to the surface is, the pulse points. That's where you radiate a lot of heat. So, in your head, saying if you're cold, put on a hat because you radiate a lot of heat from your head. Also your legs. There's not a lot of, especially your lower legs, there's not a lot of fat around your shins and thighs. So you can actually, with a hot foot bath, regulate your temperature, or a cold foot bath to do hot and cold. So so that's actually, we didn't talk about that, but if you just want to do hot, cold, you don't have to do your whole body. You could just do cold foot bath, and you still get that benefit because the blood is going through there. It's very close to the surface, and the blood gets chilled when it goes through your legs.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually, my gran would always say, being a very different generation, and you normally don't strip off that quickly. In her generation, at least, she was early 1930s or not 20. She was born. It was all about just putting the wrist under a cold running tap.
So you can do it on pulse points.
Yes.
And actually, when you're sleeping, you actually fall asleep as your body temperature is dropping. So it's really hard to fall asleep with cold legs, cold feet. So even just a warm foot bath, or heating your body up before you go to bed, helps with sleep, because you have to be warm before your temperature can drop, and as your temperature is dropping, that's when you actually fall asleep. So it's vasodilation, vasoconstriction is the way your body controls temperature, and you've got 100,000 kilometres roughly of blood vessels. Going through everywhere, and those blood vessels are aligned by smooth muscle that's controlled by your autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system will open up some muscles and close others. So when you're in fight or flight, you get adrenaline response. So the blood, rushes, to your muscles, and you contract your muscles, and your eyes are wide open, and it actually goes away from your core. So you shut down digestion, you shut down healing, you shut down your immune system, when you're in a fight and flight, sympathetic nervous system. So that's due to where the blood is flowing.
To me, that was a really important point that you made. So it's not like our blood vessels are actually like a hose, and the heart is pumping through all of it, because that always got with my mind, how can that even be? Because from a physical point of view, it doesn't make sense that this drives it. So there's actually, it's clear now to us that there are actually muscles that line our blood vessels to move blood around. And
very sophisticated.
Wow.
Really sophisticated. So you could, yogis can control, blood to here to there, different parts of their body, just mentally.
Yeah.
But even without that mental control, your autonomic nervous system controls very fine-tuned where the blood's going to go. And that's even related to our psychology. So, when you blush, you're embarrassed. This is blood flowing to your cheeks. This is all blood control, and do with vasodilation, vasoconstriction. So healing, you need blood to get to somewhere to heal it. And if you have poor circulation, that's when you get chronic ulcers and all these sort of problems. And very often that's around the ankles, because to circulate the blood from all the way down there up to your heart can take, it's pushing against gravity. And if you have problems of blood circulation in your feet, then you don't need, a little nick or a burn or a hangnail can become infected and your body can't get there to heal it. So having good vasodilation, vasoconstriction, control over your blood supply through all of your body is really important for your health. And you can control it by the external environment. It's out of our control normally, as I said, when you're sympathetic, it goes to your muscles and, your eyes and your brain. In parasympathetic, when you're, rest and digest, it goes to your internal organs, and that's when you're sleepy and the blood goes within. But that's not under your control normally. But if you go into heat, into a sauna, you're going to vasodilate, because for temperature regulation, you push the blood to the surface. That's why you feel flushed and your skin goes red. And then, sweating will, reduce your temperature. But that vasodilation will happen generally all over the body. And then you go into the cold and you get this vasoconstriction. And that vasoconstriction, as I was saying before, is mainly in the periphery, because you're shutting down. You don't want to lose heat now from your feet and your hands and your pulse points. And that blood then goes into your internal organs. And then you're nourishing all your internal organs, and you're also filtering all that blood. So there's a detoxification effect, there's a nourishing of your internal organ effect, and it's through manipulating your external environment that you can push blood around. And we do that. If you want to heal something, it's like, often you put a hot poultice on it, or even a hot water bottle on your stomach. That just moves the blood to there, opens up those blood vessels, and directs your body's attention and the blood to that, just from the heat of the poultice or the hot water bottle, etc.
Right, so going into a sauna or an ice bath does exactly that. Like in the sauna, it basically brings the blood all to the surface, and probably also just has much more dynamic flow in there because of it, huh?
Well, it is, and that dynamic flow means your heart is pumping more.
Yes.
So it's actually really great for your cardiovascular system. And using saunas for heart failure is really well documented.
Oh, wow.
And very often people with heart conditions find it hard to actively exercise, because often they have arthritis, other issues as well. But in a sauna, it's a way you can actually sit comfortably and give your heart a good workout. So that's actually really valuable for your heart. And it's pushing against less resistance, because all your blood vessels are open, so the heart can pump harder, and it's not getting the squeeze back from the blood vessels that are contracted. They're all open. So you get a lower total peripheral resistance and more cardiac output. So it's great for your cardiovascular system.
Must be, especially when you, as one gets older, I hear, you have all sorts of clogging up of your vessels as well. For that, it would help a lot.
Well, vascular disease, before about 2018, was the biggest killer, in the Western world. I think cancer took over in 2018, but it's still the second biggest killer. So that's heart attack and stroke, and then high blood pressure and all the things associated with that. So it's still a massive cause of morbidity and mortality. So to exercise your blood vessels is a really great way to prevent heart attack, stroke, and all these other conditions. And the data shows that people who regularly sauna bathe have less heart attack, less stroke, but less a whole range of other conditions, including dementia and pneumonia and other conditions, because their body has been nourished. You're getting blood going to all the places it needs to, and then those blood vessels are getting a workout.
That's like when you look at the global scale, often it's actually not that there's not enough supply, but it's more like the distribution of it. It sounds exactly like it. Like I would probably think, like, just because you might be older or sick doesn't mean that you don't get all the nutrients into your body, but where does it go from?
It's a supply issue, yeah.
Wow.
And those blood vessels get clogged up, and the circulation, and a lot of elderly people, especially people who are diabetic or have issues with the vascular system and overweight, the blood getting from their legs upwards can be an issue, and that their legs aren't nourished, and if the tissue doesn't have enough blood supply, it can break down, it can't heal if it's injured, and that's when you start to get problems. And then you can have varicose veins and DVTs and blood clots and all these sort of issues. So having your blood flush through your body and clean everything out and nourish your body. I mean, your blood is the way that nourishment goes to all your cells, this is a really powerful thing to do for your health.
Yeah. We found that people with arthritis, they often report back that the pain goes away, and we believe that's because the element P is flushed out, that indicates pain. So it's flushed away from that area, so the discomfort is gone, and hopefully, more nourishment and so on.
That's right, directing blood to that area will actually help.
Yeah, wow, so that's actually not really complex. Well, the end result of what you just said is actually not that complex.
It's actually pretty simple.
Yeah,
really,
but it took us a while to really figure it out, I guess.
And if you think of blood as, it does provide that nutrition and oxygen and all of that, but it also provides thermoregulation for your whole body, and that's a really important role of blood that we don't often appreciate that much.
Yeah. So thinking actually about something that must be related, and that's detoxification. So when you have a better flow, I would think that cells can discharge their waste products much easier, or it would go somewhere rather than staying locally in really slow flow, which I believe would probably alter the pH and would probably create all sorts of other issues. So can you talk a little bit about detoxification? Because I think it's a huge, it's a term that is used so much, but I think different people see it from different angles, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's often a confused term. In the medical, like the strict Western medical term, detox means drug and alcohol detox.
That's it.
They're not doing environmental chemicals, whereas in the sort of complementary medicine, natural medicine community, detox is about removing environmental toxins from the body. And if you think about, entropy is always there. You're always going to have waste products. You're always going to have, things that break down. So even carbon dioxide is a waste product you have to detoxify because from metabolism, and your metabolic processes are always making waste products that have to be processed, and that's why you have a liver and kidneys and your bowel that processes that and flushes it through. So the best thing to do to counteract entropy is to be an open system, because entropy is about closed systems. And to be alive, you have to be an open system. You have to eat and excrete. You have to breathe in and breathe out. You have to keep things flowing. So when things stop flowing, that is when you start to have disease. That's when you have a closed system, you have entropy. And essentially that's it works in Western science, in physics, to say, okay, an isolated system has entropy, an open system can evolve and grow. But also in Chinese medicine, they say it's the flow of qi that maintains your health, and if you have a blockage in the flow of qi, that is that's the cause of illness. And above the blockage you have excess, below the blockage you have deficiency, and acupuncture and herbs are aiming to enhance that flow of qi. And once the qi is flowing well, then your body heals itself. So your body is a natural healing mechanism. It's designed to be well. But if you have a blockage in that energy flow or blood flow, that will then cause a build-up, and toxicity can build up.
Right.
And then we have a lot of things in our environment that stop that flow and also that build up toxicity. So we're exposed to so many toxic insults that our ancestors never had. So we've got poison in the water, in our food, in our air. We have chlorine and fluoride and pesticides and all sorts of plastics and xenoestrogens and endocrine disruptors and volatile compounds and diesel exhaust and solvents and heavy metals and
there's quite a bit, hey?
There's so many that we're exposed to on a daily basis. Yet our bodies, while they haven't been exposed to them for that long, it's a novel thing in the human population, and we see the effects of just the chronic disease that's prevalent now, and the reduced infertility. I think in the last 50 years, male sperm counts have gone down by 70% around the world.
Wow, 70, yeah?
70, just from the xenoestrogen, plastics and endocrine disruptors. So you want to be able to remove these from your body effectively, and the organs responsible for that mostly are your liver and your kidneys. Your sweat is to some degree, and I have a student, Joy Hussain, who's one of my Ph.D. students now. She's just finishing. She's spent the last 5 years, or 7 years I think she spent, studying sauna. And we've just done a study looking at, the results haven't been published yet, but looking at the sweat that comes out when you sauna, and looking at things like plastics and xenoestrogens and pesticides, etc. So we'll be publishing that research soon. So your channels of elimination. I talk about your bladder, your bowel, your breath, your body, and your brain. These are all the ways you can get rid of toxicity. So your bladder does it because keeping water flushed through your body and excreting through your kidneys. About 25% of all your blood from every heartbeat goes through your kidneys.
Oh.
So your kidneys are,
they're busy.
They're busy. So after 4 heartbeats, all your blood has gone through your kidneys. So they're constantly flushing, and processing metabolic waste products. Your liver is this massive organ that takes all the blood from your gut when food is digested and filters all the nutrients from that, but it also has a very sophisticated detoxification pathways. And there's all these different biochemical pathways, but depending on the type of chemical, how to detoxify things. And then they're either sent into the bile and you poo them out, or you excrete them through your kidneys and they go back into the circulation and they're made soluble. So your liver and your kidneys are really important for detoxification. And then it depends on, people talk about this sort of detox or that sort of detox, and depending on if you're targeting a specific toxicity, because there's a lot of people who do get industrial exposure, for example. And when you're talking about toxicity, in very broad strokes, there's the lipid-soluble toxins, or toxicants. So a toxin is a natural toxic substance. A toxicant is a man-made toxic substance. So, botulism toxin, or even toxins in your body, are generated all the time. Toxicants are artificial man-made things. So, for example, DDT and PCBs and that would be toxicants. And they're lipid soluble, which means they dissolve in fat, and they're very hard to get rid of because fat you don't excrete. Fat is a really valuable biological substance. It takes a lot of energy to have fat, and in evolution it helps you survive. So you don't want to excrete fat. And actually the main time humans excrete fat, and it's only females, is when they're breastfeeding. And that's because they want to give that fat to their child, so they're excreting it in their breast milk. And we know that when you breastfeed, you actually excrete all these toxic fat-soluble substances, these lipophilic substances. And that if you're a first child, you get a higher dose of that because the mother has detoxified more into the first child than the second or third child. So if you have an older brother or sister, you have to thank them for taking that toxic hit for you.
Gee, right on.
So that's the fat-soluble toxicants. And then you've got the water-soluble ones. And they're things like the more modern pesticides, like the organophosphates, etc. And we actually did some research more than 10 years ago now. Oh, thanks.
I thought you might want it.
Oh, water's great, especially spring water. So there's the water-soluble toxicants, which are excreted mainly through your kidneys, and they're quite easily excreted, but often they're there all the time. So 10 years ago, or more, it's like 12 years ago, I had a Ph.D. student. We did research on organic food and pesticide excretion, and we showed that if you have just an 80% organic diet for 1 week, you'll get a reduction in your pesticide load in your urine by 90%.
Wow.
And that's because you'll flush them out, and if you're not replacing them, they get removed from your body after a week. But most people would be exposed all the time. So instead of the lipid-soluble ones are called persistent organic pollutants, and they persist in your body and they persist in the environment, often for decades in the environment. And they're the ones that go up the food chain.
Like DDT.
Yeah, like DDT. So and the ocean food chain is more sensitive than the land food chain because it's longer. So the phytoplankton will get eaten by the zooplankton, and then the zooplankton get eaten by the shrimp, and the shrimp will get eaten by the bigger one, and that will get eaten by the little fish, gets eaten by the bigger fish.
Yep.
And you might get 10 million times magnification at the top of the food chain in the ocean.
Yeah.
And sea mammals and whales and predatory fish, big marlin and tuna have incredibly high levels of these toxic substances in their body. In fact, I think some whales, when they get beached, their carcasses have to be treated as toxic waste because of the high level. And there's some interesting research a few years ago where they were looking at whale earwax, where apparently whales don't clean their ears. And every year the wax builds up in their ear. So at the end of their life, they had this like candle that comes out of their
like
ear.
a tree ring.
Like a tree ring, exactly.
Yeah, right.
And they can actually look at the rings and see how old that whale was. And they actually get a measure of how toxic the oceans are because of the toxicity built up by year to year.
Wow.
And when they look at it, they see that the whale has a toxic hit when it's breastfeeding. There's a lot of, because they're getting the toxic load from the mother, and then they can see it increase over the years as the oceans have become more toxic. So that's, they're the lipophilic, persistent organic pollutants. And then we have the water-soluble ones, where you can excrete out really well by drinking good water and saunaing and flushing it. But they're often pseudo-persistent because we keep on eating them, or we keep on breathing them, or we keep on exposed to them all the time. So this is where it's nice to have a regular practice to flush everything out, come back to balance. How clean can you be? How comfortable can you be? How in balance can you be? And the act of saunaing and doing that protocol of rinse, hot, cold, rest, repeat. It's like an exploration of how comfortable am I able to be in my mind and my body right now, and how clean can I be? How good can I feel? So this is it's on so many different levels. This works.
So many different levels. Yeah, I can see that. And coming back to what you said in the beginning of, you have the whole body in a hot state when you come out of the sauna, and then as you go into a cold environment, it shuts down the or the hands, arms, legs, that type of thing. But still keep your core really warm, which to me means there's probably still a lot of vasodilation within the core.
Well, that's right. Well, when you're in the hot, you actually have vasoconstriction in your core because you've sent all the blood to the outside.
Right.
So now this is the opposite. All that blood was on the outside, now going to the inside.
So you actually want it for a detox reason, because you want the blood to go through the organs. You basically catch it by sending all the blood into your extremities. It catches all the toxins that are available at that very moment. Then you go into the cold, which means it's all called home to the organs, and it goes through the organs more
That's it.
efficiently.
So you're pumping blood to the outside, then to the inside. To the outside to pick up the waste, to the inside to clear out the waste. And then you're drinking lots so it flushes out.
That makes much more sense when I hear it that way. I've been exposed to this, thinking for a long, long time on a really shallow level. So people would say, it's good to have cold because, like it hardens the body or, whatever is said. But when you actually talk about at a more detailed level, to me, that makes way more sense. Like I'm more inclined to do it now more regularly, because I actually understand and can really see that's definitely makes so much more sense.
Oh, great, yeah, because it's not complicated, and it makes intuitive sense. Okay, the blood's going to go to the outside, pick up the waste, and then you have to force the blood back into your organs. And when you're, I was saying about fight and flight and rest and digest. So when you're stressed, that's when the blood goes to the outside, and you're, going to fight, and you turn off your immune system, you turn off your healing system, you turn off digestion. So that's when you're relaxed, and in that rest period where they all turn on, and then your organs become much more active. So that's when the blood is going into your internal organs, and you can turn on, your immune system gets active, your digestion gets active.
Yes. Oh, that's really powerful, because if I think about a Western lifestyle, we do this 1 hour sauna, cold plunge session, and then we're back into life, whatever. Maybe even, do it after work after work, and then go out with friends and be all animated again. And I can see how that is really counterproductive, because if you're back in fight and flight quite quickly, and I can feel it when I don't give myself enough rest after a sauna session, it's actually more work, and it feels really not nice to push through it.
Well, your body will force you, because you'll sleep really well.
Yeah.
And that is a benefit, because and this is one thing we did. Joy, who did the sauna research, we did the global sauna survey.
Yes.
And the thing that everyone came back with said, we sleep great after a sauna. So the body will force itself to have that rest. But if you can do it when you're conscious, then you get the mental health and the physical health benefits, I think, even more. And you probably will still sleep well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it tires you out. It's all this metabolic work takes energy, and you need to rest and come back to balance. And if you just go straight into your life, you're probably going to zonk out that night.
It just makes me think about the people that listen, maybe that know that if they stop, they suddenly get sick. But if you really think about the cycle, if you're constantly in fight and flight, there's no healing going on, and there's no detoxification going after you have all these toxins mobilized in your body. And then if you if you do stop, and if it's just, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year, I can imagine some people just do it, just really kick into it either on a Sunday, every Sunday, or when they really have rested, or when you're on holiday. There's certainly then what comes with it. Sometimes it's the flu, or just some sort of sickness. And I can see that the toxic load has probably come quite high, or just there's a stock take of the body saying like, look, there's no other way than really going rock bottom, and I make you sick for now to really get through this.
To force you. And often being sick, there is a detoxification that happens, in the mucus, and so there's a excretion that happens. But it's good to be on top of that and to put pauses into your activity, because there's so much stress right now in the modern world to be on the go all the time. And who has ever kept up with their emails and the content, the stuff you want to watch, and everyone to contact, and so there's this pressure to be on all the time. And what I really think this shows is that if you can actively turn yourself off, you can be more effective when you're on. And to have periods, whether it's it's a couple of times a week, you're doing your sauna. It can be doing a meditation practice every day. I mean, when you sleep, you're obviously turning off, but really having some rituals around that. So you're doing that as much as possible. So having periods where you can be off as much as possible. How many things can you turn off in your body? I can turn my mind and my heart. So how to come really down into that point of stillness, and then when you're on, you can be fully on and focused. And I really believe there's nothing more powerful in the whole universe than focused human attention. Because that's what designs everything and controls everything. So your focused human attention is so valuable. I think that's why everyone wants it. That's why everyone's trying to demand attention, and because it's such a valuable resource. Yet, for you to focus your attention and to make it like a laser focus, you need your whole body behind it. Like your body is like the reflecting magnifier that focuses that laser. So to get your body working and your mind working together, then suddenly you become a really powerful force in the world. So to focus your whole body and mind together on doing nothing, that gives you the base for then directing that attention wherever you want.
Amazing. Oh, that's great permission to do it. I love it. Hey, just a side question on the toxins. What do you think about toxin binders? Is that something that you would throw into your protocol of, let's say, you have your protocol, as you say, you rinse, you have heat, you have cold, you rest, and then you repeat. Is there something that would help through the bowel toxification to a detoxification to absorb something like, I don't know, clay or chlorella or something like that? Yeah,
I mean, there's a whole range of binders, and they're often very specific. For targeting specific toxic exposures. And if you're going to target specific ones, it's good to have why and what's your objective. But I think it's really great to build into your everyday life these binders. So one of the best binders is just soluble fibre.
Okay.
Having whole plants, having the whole fruit rather than the juice, and having soluble fibre in your diet, because that binds and excretes. I mean, water is one of the best. I wouldn't call it a binder, but the medium for flushing toxicity through. A lot of phytonutrients act to bind toxicity, and quite a few of them also enhance liver enzyme pathway detoxification. So a lot of the herbs you have in herbal medicine, and even herbal teas that you can just have every day. I mean, I'm a big fan of Tulsi tea, holy basil, and that actually you can have it every day. And that will bind toxicity, but it will also enhance your liver detoxification pathways. So I think, there are specific binders, and you can get into, EDTA and DMSA for heavy metals, and then, zeolites and dolomites and different clays in your gut, and even chlorella and things that can bind some heavy metals, and that they're great if you want to have a specific target. But I think you can really build that into a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. A lot of these agents that have other nutrient benefits as well. However, I think there is some protocols around saunaing to use herbs to enhance that. And again, that's been done traditionally. So even before you get into the sauna, if you have a herbal tea with a warming tea, so I mean ginger and cinnamon or something that already warms you and vasodilates you, you can that can enhance that experience. And then when you're in the sauna, I really like bringing attention to different parts of my body. So I might bring in have a ice bucket just outside with a face washer in it with some some lemongrass or nice essential oils, some blends, and you just squeeze that out. And when you're really hot, you put that cold face washer on your face with some essential oils in it, and it just heightens your senses. And it also gives you the feeling of being cool. If you're just putting it over your face or your head, then you can stay longer in the sauna. Because you want to be comfortably uncomfortable. So you're uncomfortable, you're really hot, then you put the nice smelling cold face washer over, and suddenly you're really comfortable when you're uncomfortable, and you can stay a bit longer. So having those sort of experiences, which also make it fun.
Yeah.
And then maybe having a spray bottle with mist that you can scent that, or if you're in a finished sauna, you can put water on the rocks with scent. In New Zealand at Maria Hot Springs, we do wellness entertainment, and we bring out frozen watermelon with rose water. So it just stimulates this, because when you're really thirsty, and then you really appreciate drinking and good water and fruits.
Yeah.
Fruits are structured water. Fruits are a really great source of structured water. But you can delight your senses with that, because your senses are heightened when you're in that, I'm really thirsty, I'm dehydrated, and experiencing that dehydration. Okay, you'll sweat. Often I know I've spent long enough in the sauna, not just because I've got to that uncomfortable, but the towel is heavy. I've sweated enough, and so I can feel the weight of the towel.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a heavy towel. That's a good sauna, because you mop the sweat off. And that's actually another good practice, is to actually mop the sweat off, not just let it sit there. Because if it's got excreting substances in the sweat, you don't want to have them on your skin. You want to get them away from your skin.
So that's a thing that you actually reabsorb the toxins.
Yeah,
that's certainly a thing. So so definitely after you had a sauna, either shower or at least use a damp cloth to
And I've got an interest in this in water. But if you're in the sauna and then you're going to have a shower in chlorinated water, this is not ideal, because your pores are open.
Yeah.
And your skin has a surface area of 30 square meters. When I was first in medical school, we were taught it was 1.8 square meters. Your skin surface area, like about a single bed size. And then they realised that every time you have a hair follicle and a sebaceous gland, it goes down and goes up, and it's a very big surface area. And it's these glands that have special oils that protect your skin from the sun and from aging and from getting wrinkles, and from also feed the good bacteria on your skin, which are protection against bad bacteria and infections. So those oils are really precious, and the bacteria are really valuable to you. And when you're in the sauna, those your skin's very open, and then if you're using chlorinated water, the reason why they use chlorine is it's so toxic, it'll kill bacteria at 0.5 parts per million when it comes out of your tap. So that chlorine will oxidize those natural oils, and it will not kill all the bacteria, but it will change the bacterial population in your skin to make it more pathological.
Right. So when we talked last time, I remember you saying that it's safer to drink water because it actually at least gets filtered.
Yes, through your liver. Yeah.
Yeah. Then rather than putting it on your skin, which really means it gets absorbed right through into your bloodstream.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's and when you're in having a sauna, you're more vulnerable. Mind you, hot water is worse than cold water, because the hot water not just opens the pores, but the gases come out of it. So chlorine and chloroform and trihalomethanes outgas from hot water once it's over about 25, 30 degrees.
Yes.
So it's the air that becomes toxic, not just the water. So if you're in cold water, even if it's chlorinated, the chlorine won't affect you as much with your lungs, but it's still going to affect the oils on your skin. Once if it's really cold, your skin's going to snap, pores are going to snap shut quicker, and the cold water it's not as volatile, it won't have as much access.
Yeah.
So if you can't escape chlorinated water, then it's better to have it cold. Or there's a little trick you can do is fill up a bath really hot and then wait half an hour till it's outgassed. And after about half an hour of, if it's hot enough, then most of the chlorine will be gone. But that, having a cold shower after, flushing everything off, the better the quality water, the better your skin's going to feel. All the oils will come back, and suddenly you like to touch your skin, and you'll notice that any skin conditions can improve, and your hair feels better even.
Do you your filters that you have developed, are they taking the chlorine out of it as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have beautiful water. We call it beautiful water, which is filtered. It's structured. It's balanced in terms of pH and minerals. It's blessed with positive intention, and it's free in terms of the water. Doesn't cost money. The filter costs money, but the water's free. But it's also free flowing, in that it's not held in a tank or held in a bottle.
Right.
So it's always flowing, and water wants to be flowing. As soon as water's held in a tank or a bottle, it starts to lose its structure. And there's a whole science around. I mean, your body is structured water. If you count, you're 2/3 water by volume or by mass, but you're 99.9% water molecules. If you count every molecule, proteins are huge, and collagen and nucleic acids are massive, and water's super tiny. So 99.9% of your molecules are water molecules. So you're very highly structured water. And there are different ways that water can be structured. One is through biological organisms, whether it's vegetables and fruit. That's already structured if it's in a vegetable or a fruit. So you can eat water that way. Through magnets. So when water comes through magnetic rocks and stuff, it becomes structured. And the natural action of water going down a mountain stream, forming vortexes.
Yes.
So this flow form naturally causes water to structure. And what they've found is when you have structured water, plants will grow better, and you'll grow better. It's easily absorbed into plants. So with less water, you'll get 30% more growth and sprouts, etc. If you're making bread, the bread will be moister and taste better. If you're making concrete, the concrete will be stronger. If you're cleaning something, even without detergent, the water will clean better. And if you use detergent, the detergent will dissolve better and not leave a soapy film. Structured water dissolves the calcite minerals, turns them into aragonite, which is a more rhomboid shape and slides over each other. It's a smaller mineral. So the mineral's still there, but it doesn't form scale. So the pipes and your heaters and stuff won't get scale. But also you won't get scale on your shower screen. That white film you
really,
get?
you don't?
Yeah, you can just, and you're washing windows, you don't get streaks. Wow. So it saves on cleaning. And you just put the water on the shower screen and it stays clear. And it's also the same build-up that happens on your shower screen happens on your hair and your skin. And suddenly you don't have this scale mineral build-up. So structured water is actually a really important part of our life. Yet we don't often understand it and respect that. So the filters, the beautiful water filters naturally structure the water, but the way the water goes through the filter technology, through the sort of the polymer, ion exchange resin and polymer. But then I've also got what I call a beautiful water enhancer. And it's actually a Swiss device it's a stainless steel tube that mimics a kilometre of mountain stream.
Wow.
And it's just got a series of plates in it, and there's zinc, copper and silver plates. And the plates have got holes in it like a propeller, and it forces the water into vortexes. And the water spins in a vortex. In the middle of the vortex, you have a cavitation bubble. So it actually creates like a vacuum. And that pulls any volatile compounds out of the water, so it outgasses things. But it also makes the minerals more soluble. So this is a device that doesn't need replacement. It's just the physics of the device is what how it works. And it can go on your whole house. So and these devices you can also, and I've been using it lately, is you can connect them to a garden hose. So you can make a garden hose into a nice shower outside,
Great.
But if you have it for your whole house, then even if you haven't filtered the water, you've got structured water, and that's really great for your skin, for your cooking, for your plants, for your pets, for cleaning. It's just it's the next level of water.
Yeah, it's amazing. What's the website then?
Just beautifulwater.co.
Awesome.
Beautifulwater.co. so we've got a whole house system, which is true stainless steel containers. Mind you, there's actually shortages at the moment for stainless steel, so we still have some in stock. But I know the next container, people have to pre-order to make sure they get them. Yeah. So the whole house system will do all the water. So it means you can drink freely from any water, any tap in your house.
Brilliant.
And I love that. I come out of the sauna, have a beautiful water shower.
Yeah.
And it just feels fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there's a under sink system or a whole apartments one for a couple that will last a year or two. And the filter cartridges are actually regenerate, or you can regenerate them using a cleaning protocol. So you can replace them and just buy a new cartridge every year or two, but you can actually use a combination of citric acid and bicarb soda and flush them and actually regenerate them, so they last a very long time.
Brilliant. I love it. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Hey, before I let you go, there was one last question around going all the way back to sort of like what happens when you're actually in a cold or hot situation, and that's sort of endorphins and any other hormones that get released. Can you just speak on why that is and when that happens? Because I'm a little bit unsure why the body would do that. Is that just the reward system saying like you did the right thing, do it again? Or
well, it's more like endorphins get released as pain control. So your endorphins like hundreds of times more potent than morphine in terms of pain control, and it's like the runner's high. You get that because when you're running, you're actually doing damage to your body. You're impacting muscles get torn, your bones get stressed. So your body releases endorphins to keep you going, and then when you stop, the endorphins are still going. It's a runner's high. So when you're in a threatening situation, and with hot and cold, you're playing with a very profound life and death situation. Too much hot and too much cold, you die. And that's not just mammals die, all life will die. So this is 4.5 billion years of evolutionary intelligence to keep your body in thermoregulation. And endorphins are a way to, I guess, overcome a stressful situation. But it's not just the endorphins. You get this whole autonomic nervous system response, as well as this physiological response. And I think as humans, because we have this very sophisticated, we talked about thermoregulation, how we're so sophisticated, because we've got our psychology as well as our biology. When you're going to the edge of your physiology with hot and cold, you start with your biochemistry, then your physiology, but then your mind has to get involved. And when your mind is getting involved, that's when your body demands your attention. Okay, I want to get out of here, it's getting really hot, but can I just breathe and recover? And when you're doing that, there's all sorts of neurochemicals that are being secreted that keep your mind focused, in balance, and aligned with the rest of your body. So the endorphins are part of that. And they're also part of the hormonal control. There's the protoendorphin, there's this hormone, pro-opiomelanocortin, which is like this pro-hormone that is secreted in the pituitary gland that then gets broken down into endorphin and melatonin and other hormones. So this is, they call it the conductor of the endocrine orchestra. So, when you have a good conductor, then the whole orchestra is playing well.
Yes.
And that's what you want.
Gotcha. Thanks for explaining that. Awesome. Marc, I think I have to have you back because I have still so many questions. More are coming up, wanting to explore more avenues, but... I
haven't talked about fermented foods yet.
They've
got a whole other business doing that, and that's important with water, but that's a whole another topic. But we could talk for a long time, I think.
If people want to research your work and what you do and your products, what's the best way to find you?
I've got a website, just Dr. Marc, drmarc.co. My company, Beautiful Water, just beautifulwater.co. That's for the filters. I have Extremely Alive Wellness Tonics. That's extremelyalive.com.au.
They're great. Try them.
I have my children's books, which is pronoiapress.co. And I have Maria Hot Springs in New Zealand, which I can't go right now, but that says mariahotSprings.nz, I think.
.co.nz maybe?
.co.nz.
Yeah. Awesome. Terrific. Marc, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom that you shared.
Oh, thanks. It's always a pleasure to be up here and to chat with you. And and to be able to do a podcast in a sauna, it's great. And I love sauna so much and the culture and trying to just bring these ancient knowledge, this ancient tradition into the modern world.
Yes.
So I really love what you're doing with your company, and I'm really happy to come back at any time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cheers.